Welcome back, everybody, to the weekly dispatch. This week, Samuel, Sam, Sam,
Sam Zemke.
Sam Zemke. No Samuels around here. I don't know where that came from. And myself, Reverend Wakil, and my dear friend, Reverend Ana Luisa. We were thinking about how a lot of the things we talked about last time have to do with this sense that that there are others, that there's this othering of, that there is us and them, that whole us and them paradigm. And I've been reading recently something about, it's called Where Western Christianity Went Wrong, and it's talking about Augustine back in the day, and that was kind of where Rome and Greece and the people in power really started using the ideas that Augustine put forward to say nature and humans are different. They're separate. Anything natural that you might do, sex or anything like that, is a sin. It's a sin to have sex outside of wanting to make babies. And even that, Augustine had a lot of issues around that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a whole nother story, but yeah,
Wow.
he had his own problems. And he just kind of hated the whole idea, so he put that into the papal, whatever they call those meetings.
Papal, yeah.
Yeah. And it
Their
became
weekly dispatch.
Yeah, their weekly dispatch, which they do every 100 years or so.
Yeah.
Anyway, they made that the law of the Catholic Church at the time, of course, which was pretty much the old church at the time. And one of the things in this book he says is that was never the idea that Christ was talking about. Never. He never said this. In fact, his was the opposite of that. We are all one being. We're here together. We have to be together, work together, love each other, have empathy and compassion for each other. And that's what will make things better in the world. And so that was a real digression from that, and for the purpose of power. That's all it was about, because the Romans had taken it up as their state religion, and that was a way for them to say, you are not us. You're a sinner, and we therefore have the right to enslave you. We therefore have the right to oppress you. And you're not good enough. And so it's something that's very old, and that we are seeing the results of now in our ability to other the planet, and to say that's not really part of us, so it's okay for us to exploit it, and it's okay for us to burn it up, and it's okay for us to chop down all the trees, and it's okay for us to mine, and just all the really sad, horrible things that we've been doing to the planet for a long time, and especially in the last few hundred years, So
And
the
to each
results we're
other,
seeing,
right?
yeah, and to each
Well,
other.
and so by virtue of othering the planet, we enslave people to work the planet, and they are less than because of this. I mean, I've often seen those really amazing photos from Brazil and like the copper mines,
Oh yeah.
with like hundreds of bodies just digging away. In India, the people who are called who are tasked to do the mining as well.
Yeah.
Bodies upon bodies have been called to do this
Yeah, and have
work
suffered.
that as suffering,
Yeah.
at a great suffering.
Yeah, exactly. And causing harm. Yeah, and just the sense that that when we can other the planet, when we can other each other, it's gives us permission to do all those things, and gives us a permission. And so what this one friend of ours had wrote a long article this week about, what are we giving permission to by living the life we're living? It's really something to be aware of and thought about. So yeah, so a lot of harm is being done.
Yeah,
and
and go ahead, Sam.
just the othering, not just of like each other in the sense of who we say it's okay to like do the demanding, degrading, or accelerated death causing labor, but it's suffused through like almost all of our interactions, and it's become like hypercharged.
Yeah.
in the atomization and polarization in our culture, where like so many people can't even have a conversation. There's the tolerance for disagreement and conflict is at an all-time low, it seems
That's
like.
right.
And
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
and it could go down the rabbit hole of like where and why and what, but there's been some like very, as far as I understand it, like pretty intentional pushes in that direction,
Yeah,
because it makes people easier to control when there's
absolutely.
somebody outside that you can blame all of the things on, that you
Yeah.
can say, I'm not going to engage with X subset of the population, or I'm going to celebrate their suffering
Mm-hmm.
because they're not like me along ideological, racial, religious, whatever boundaries. Then you can get poked in that place, and it's really easy to poke you around
Oh,
and push
yeah.
you around.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, really easy. Yeah. There was a statistic about how many people have lost friends or family members, have been estranged from friends or family members since this kind of since like 2015, which is sort of a bellwether to what's been happening in the world, and it's a large, it's like almost 50% of people who have no longer able to talk to their family or members, or to talk to their friends, or talk to their neighbors, because of that, what you're just talking about, Sam. So yeah, it's a real thing, and it's a sad thing, and we talked about last time, mutual aid. It's hard to do mutual aid when you can't stand the people, right? who are needing the help, and so that's another point of, the other thing that's lost is, and this loss that we're mourning in this episode, is the loss of empathy, the loss of compassion for each other, the loss of recognition of ourselves in others. Yeah.
Or even the loss of not caring for subsets of our community, be it elders or young children,
Yeah.
Based on, random issues that you may or may not have about being of service to those folk.
Yeah.
It is very apparent, like some people are really being pushed out of the safety net.
Yeah.
And, who are we if that's so easy for it to happen? And it's easy for us to be watching it happen and not have a way to voice our like anger or disdain, like this is not
despair.
okay. Despair.
Yeah.
That this is not okay, and we need to talk about it some more. Again, normalizing conversations that are really hard without having people get really upset. And I'm going to also say, like, this weekend I was talking to somebody about death and dying, and he mentioned he's a chaplain, and his own family doesn't want to talk about death and dying. So, there are a multitude of places where we are not, and I don't want to use the word trained, but we're not comfortable with what we're not comfortable. We don't want to have anybody else like addressing. If you're not comfortable with, death and dying, or even like, I have a disease that I need to talk about. Well, I'm not comfortable talking about this. And there's there's a space for you to be like honest and say that makes me really uncomfortable to talk about. But on the other hand, it's like, if it's making more of our community in peril, like we do need to talk about it.
Exactly,
Like it is a thing.
Yeah. And it is hard conversations to get started. We've had there's a guy up here who's a minister who's been working for years on just getting people together to have conversations. And the way he's done it is he invites people of different thought idealistic ideals, and he says, let's go build a ramp for this person who needs a ramp for a wheelchair. Let's go create a garden, and he gets people all together to do these tasks. And that's been a way through, which has helped at least to some extent. And it's another, again, good PSA, another possibility for all of us in our own communities to think, how could I invite all the people upstairs in my condo who voted for that other guy to go down and make a garden with me. And that's actually happening in my condo, which is kind of cool. But just the everyday connections with each other, we can figure out that we're not that far apart from each other.
Yeah. It is really scary. And I also feel like, we have this idea that to be successful and to live a great life is to not have any discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
And, when we immerse ourselves in a bubble that keeps us from feeling uncomfortable, it really does diminish our humanity in some ways.
Yeah.
Because we don't recognize like other people who might be outside the bubble who need. And I think about this because, as many of you know, I walk in the alleys in the morning with my dog and just always thinking and praying and listening to birds. And there was an unhoused human who I've seen for months. And, because I walk early in the morning, I see him gathering his things and getting ready for his day. And just this morning, though, he was out on the sidewalk and I walked past him and I could smell his urine. He smelled very dirty and unhealthy. And it was alarming to me because usually I'm like, "Hi," from like a distance. "Hey, good
Mm-hmm.
morning." And, as I I didn't move faster and I didn't move away, but I was like, "That was uncomfortable."
Mm-hmm.
And then my next thought was like, he doesn't have a home to bathe and take care of himself, and he's got dirty clothes. And I was thinking about that. I was like, I recently took a big jug of warm water and some washcloths to a mutual aid group for downtown, and for people to wash up. I'm like, I need to help people wash up. It is more
Mm-hmm.
time, it is energy, it's sometimes a little scary. And yet, me having that interaction this morning just reminded me like not everybody has access to clean water.
Yeah.
And I can be of service in some way, or even just like tomorrow morning, take a baggie full of, wet wipes or whatever. So, but yeah, like, we disdain those who make us uncomfortable. We disdain
Yeah.
family members who want to have hard conversations. We disdain people who are hungry and crossing our border and like are desperate to change their own personal lives. And when I got divorced, people say they don't want people you no longer have as many friends because people worry that their marriage isn't as strong as they think it is because you are emblematic
Yeah.
of the potential for a downfall.
Wow. Wow.
And so, is it our humanity that sees all these others around us and says, I am not homeless. I am not,
Mm-hmm.
from another country so poor that I have to risk my life and limb to make a better life for my children. Like, it's uncomfortable. It's so
It is.
uncomfortable.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely.
Yeah, that comfort being the litmus test for a good life, I think, is also a huge part of where we've gone wrong.
Soft.
Yeah, well, the
Soft and
search,
mean.
soft and
Yeah.
mean, callous. I mean,
Yeah.
oftentimes I was just talking with a friend of mine the other day about this, and I think I originally encountered it through some Buddhist teaching
Mhm.
about suffering and how so much, and I've probably talked about it here before, but so much of the imbalance of the world has to do with comfort and insulation from discomfort.
Right.
Yeah.
If you have material abundance, you can shelter yourself and your family and your loved
Yeah.
ones from the discomforts of life, the natural
Mhm.
discomforts of life.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it is, but through that process of imbalancing and wealth hoarding or whatever, that discomfort, that suffering that you won't allow yourself to experience to change and grow
Hmm.
in a natural way gets offset to somebody else.
That's right.
Mhm.
And so
That's
other
right.
people take on more of that discomfort,
The
more of
burden
that
and yep.
suffering, more of that
Mhm.
burden. And so
Wow. Yeah.
balance, the like utopian vision that I personally ascribe to, is not free from suffering. It's that everybody sort of shares the burden of natural suffering.
Mhm.
You can't buy your
Mhm.
way out of failure if an idea
Mhm.
doesn't work out. That
Mhm.
sucks, and it happens.
Yeah.
You're gonna have your heart broken. You can't buy your way out of it. You can't pay somebody off,
Mhm.
because they don't like you, or pay for different rabbit hole. But like to to share that and for everybody to go through those natural, and natural is a complicated word
Yeah.
too, but just
Right.
like go through the processes of discomfort
Mm-hmm.
that allow you to change and grow and develop in a balanced way. Because if you
Yeah.
take on too much, if you're experiencing too much challenge, too much of that suffering, you don't have the opportunity to process. You don't
Yeah,
have the
you're too
opportunity to
bankrupt.
grow. Right,
Yeah.
right. You're just
Yeah.
depleted constantly.
Yeah.
And it
Constantly.
doesn't become a transformative developmental process.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's more
And also,
burnout, and what we're seeing with burnout with a lot of people now, I think.
yes.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And, you know, I'm going to kind of also put a pin in this as well, because when we talk about people going through grief, the loss of a loved one, very simply,
Mhm,
you've
mhm.
lost somebody you care for deeply, and you're in grief mode. And if people around you find your grief uncomfortable,
Yeah.
right? Like they are not willing to share that burden with you because they want to keep their own comfort level up. They're like,
Mhm,
no,
mhm.
this, you know, I don't want to think about death and dying. I don't want to think about loss. But you know, one way that we can help one another is to recognize, like, this is how we help the burden be the load shared. You
Mhm.
know, like just listening or reaching out and hugging or whatever's small ways that we can impart that we see and behold the suffering that our loved one is going through for a
Mhm.
community member, right?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
help share the burden. So you know, discomfort in our land is we just I wonder if that's why we're afraid of dying, right? We're afraid of having the conversation because it is uncomfortable.
Yes.
And, you
Yeah.
know, it's scary to think like there's no way I'm going to be able, like, I'm going to die, I'm going to leave my family or whatever. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I think this is a really interesting and rich topic because it is the discomfort that we feel when seeing others around us in predicaments that we hope to never encounter can make us callous and
Yeah.
turn away and leave children in detention homes and leave
Yeah.
trees that are having a hard time and leave, you know, elders who are suffering by themselves in homes and they have no idea what to do, right? Like
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is too easy to just turn away and just be like, nah, 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 nah.
Yeah, yeah, right, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
And on the macro level, it contributes to the greed,
yeah.
of just, you know, that's one way to stay comfortable is like keep hoarding money, like you mentioned earlier, Sam, and hoarding space and hoarding resources.
Yeah. Or even knowledge,
Yeah, yeah, and yeah,
right?
exactly, yeah. So that
Mm-hmm.
you get to the point where you know you just have to keep hoarding more and more and more. It's like this disease that you have to keep hoarding more and more and more to feel comfort and be sure your gang is going to be
Mm-hmm.
comfortable, and that's what leads
Mm-hmm.
to these, like we've just talking about earlier, these corporate owned elder care or funeral
Funeral home.
care and
Yeah.
funeral homes or hospitals or hospices that have no interest whatsoever in making lives better for their patients. Their only interest
Mm-hmm.
is in making money. And
Mm-hmm.
so that statistically leads to more deaths, more infections, more
Mm-hmm.
falls, more people just dying because there's no reason to live any longer. I mean, you know, just all these things that we watch and see and notice and feel
Mm-hmm.
horrible about, that maybe on a one-to-one basis we can do something. But again, this weird, strange greed disease that somebody needs to have $1 trillion or somebody even needs to have $1 billion. I was
Right.
thinking about this the other day, you know, what do you need $1 billion for? Who needs $1 billion?
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
it's not necessary to be comfortable, to be alive. You can certainly do with a lot less. And if you
Yeah.
have more than you need, then the next thing to do is like find ways to give it away and help people. And that doesn't
Yeah.
ever seem to occur to the majority.
Right. Right. Well, let's go back to the elder care too. It's like, you know,
Yeah.
so many people always like those places smell bad,
Yeah.
right? Like that is a thing. Like, ugh, I don't want to go there because it's stinky.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it's uncomfortable. If you have an elder in those places and that's the only place you can be, you have to show up. You cannot
Yeah,
abandon ship,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
And you have to recognize, like, is this place under served by, the people who work here? Are they getting paid a living wage? Find out more information and call it out and say,
Yeah.
and unfortunately it happens in this acute situation where you have somebody, because otherwise we don't go around and check in on elders that are not our family members, right? So
Yeah.
we don't know.
Yeah.
But every aspect of our community requires that we as humans lean into these moments of others having their own lived experience that are difficult for them.
Yeah.
It makes us uncomfortable. How can I be of service for this just one moment in this person's life?
Yeah.
Be it elder care, in a place where money is not being used to help people in their end of life, or,
Yeah.
children in detention centers, or, what have you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. I mean, we do regularly go visit people, and I would love to go sing in these places, and sing with them. But and that's not impossible. I mean, it's totally open. I don't know if people even know that any elder care place would just love to have you come and visit with them. Be a volunteer, visit with some of the people there. They don't have anybody coming to visit with them. Volunteer for hospice, volunteer for any of these things,
Hospice is, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you may find, like I did, that it's very frustrating volunteering for hospice that's corporate owned because they don't care so much, but you still will be contributing. You'll be changing the paradigm just by showing up, right? So,
Yeah, and especially it's one of the things that I had to do for my hospice work was show up for people who have no family. And honestly, there are a lot of people out in the world today who, loss of a spouse or never got married and had children, and their community is passing away and they're really left all to themselves. Just walking into a room and saying hello is really lovely.
yeah.
So that is a way for us to not turn away from these moments of discomfort,
Yeah. Yeah.
And on the other side of that, also like to bring up when it moves beyond discomfort into, this is a total, I'm gonna jump tracks into actual questions of safety and where fear has materialized. Isolation and alienation, polarization has materialized into real threats,
Right.
real danger, like say the mental health crisis and homelessness, and how some folks who you see suffering on the street that you would really like to help are not safe for you to approach.
Right.
Or which is I'm not the happiest that that's my first example. But your neighbor, your upstairs neighbor who voted differently from you more now than ever may actually be a dangerous person to you, depending on your skin color, depending on your outward identity, or how you, signal to which identity groups you belong to. If you have unnaturally colored hair, approaching your Trumpist neighbor, or going, trying to do that work, or be even being kind can be seen as a threat. And so how do we meet those moments, speaking out in a systemic way about some of these things that we're seeing is actively an unsafe thing by design.
Yeah.
And so how do we balance that? Where does the discomfort and risk and fear and danger, how do we navigate those things, in institutional callousness? And what happens if you make a stink at the nursing home where your parent lives, and the board says you're out. And it's the only nursing home that you can afford.
Yeah. Or even more subtle things where they just, quit treating your parent well,
Right.
And I think that, those things call for a lot of courage on our parts, but they also call for discernment, and they call for listening to your gut, listen to your heart, really
And
paying close
community.
attention. Yeah, and
And
community
having
and
somebody else
support.
come with you.
Yeah. Thanks, Sam. That's important stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's not easy. And like we said last time, take care of yourselves. We love you. We care about you. We want you to continue to do the work you're doing. We want to hear from you. Anything else before we say adios?
Keep on talking about everything that's just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We're here to back you up.
Yeah. And find our Substack page and get on the chat with us. We'd love to continue this conversation. So
yes.
Like us, love us, subscribe
We
to
love
us.
you.
And tell all your friends. All right. Much love, everybody. Adios.
Adios.
See you next time. Adios.
Conversations about the end of life.